if things were going according to a plan, I wouldn't be standing here. I would be actually making beautiful furniture, leaning over a drawing board, working a lot with my hands, using a lot of robust machinery. Unfortunately, there was a very sudden and unexpected change to my plan. Because I couldn't paint, I couldn't draw well enough, I failed my school entrance exam. So basically, there was nothing left for me to do but to go to the university. How about you? Have you experienced life-changing plans? No? Multiple, yeah. And a lot of people. So, important question is how we deal with this type of change. How can we handle it better? Change is ubiquitous. We have distinguished speakers today. They will be speaking about change, transformative change, gradual change, different types of change. In my career, if I get the machine working and I can get the presentation up. In my career in top leadership teams in different organizations, sorry? Yes. I have experienced dramatic change, catastrophic change. So I have been in that position to tackle it, to prepare for it, and go through it and do a lot of recovery planning for it. So this dramatic and catastrophic change I will be referring to as crisis, to be concise. The industries that I mentioned, that they are chemical, retail, aviation. There are also a number of international organizations that I have helped, like the United Nations. There are national organizations, like the state audit offices. Most recently, there are also the military and defense. Quite obviously, because they are classified, the pictures are not up on the screen. And these organizations, they do their best to prepare for a crisis. Because instead of asking a question, if there is a crisis, they actually know all too well they have to focus on when there is a crisis. So what they do, and where I help, well, they invest heavily in building up their resilience. So they invest heavily in what you call, well, 3 pillars: risk management, emergency response, and recovery planning. So what we can take away from that experience that has been built over actually decades and centuries in this area, can we learn from actually their approach to crisis? How can that actually help us in our daily lives? And actually in your organization, your university, and even your family. So we asked the question, are these organizations actually perfect in dealing with the crisis? What do you think? Are they good? Yeah. They'll still make mistakes. And I as a professional in this area, I keep doing mistakes. Organizations keep doing mistakes, and that's because of several reasons. The reasons might be shift in focus, lack of resources to deal with preparedness and resilience building. Actually, that might be also like more mundane reasons, like change in their staff, change in personnel. So and consequently the change in focus. But what I have experienced being part of these, crisis leadership teams and top senior management teams and organizations, there's one approach that helps both these organizations, me personally, and also a lot of other people who are dealing with this type of dramatic, catastrophic change. That is actually something that is actually that you wouldn't call complicated. What is the opposite of complicated? Overcomplicated? Simple? Undercomplicated? No? No, it's simple, yes. So simple approach works best. So, and for this reason, I have actually I have put up this 5-step approach that will help to deal with any type of crisis, be it organizational, be it personal, be it your family crisis. So these 5 very simple steps, and this is something that helps in every crisis. So first step, what you need to do if a crisis unfolds, is create a very simple response plan, maximum 1 page, few bullet points. How are you going to overcome the situation at hand? What is the focus on that plan? The focus is on people who are affected by the situation. If you focus on that, then even intuitively, you will be good. The other thing in that first step is what to consider. You consider the most pessimistic scenario. Use your imagination. Go really down and dark. So what is the worst that can happen? And if your simple plan addresses that very pessimistic scenario, again, you'll be good. Second thing, team. Who are the people who will help to deal with the situation at hand, or who will be the people who will implement the plan that you have created, devised in the first step? So, in case of an organization, ideally, these are people who have been trained years in advance, not months in advance, years in advance, and who will be dealing with the situation at hand. So these, as I said, these can be colleagues in a university environment. These can be volunteers who are part of a crisis team. So these can be your fellow students, fellow teachers. And in case of a personal crisis, these can be family members or friends. Third thing, communication channel or communication platform. Sounds extremely easy, isn't it? So, if you cannot meet, you meet in one place, right? Which is that place? So you can ask your university colleagues, if you have a massive catastrophic event, which room exactly out of in these many rooms in this area right here, or other outbuildings, which is the place where you meet, which has been, where you have had mobilization trainings, activation trainings that you go to, where you meet, where you open up your crisis manual and you start dealing with the situation. I have had recently one of the companies that asked me for advice. They also had a catastrophic event, a blast, and they lost a bit of time while they agreed, which place they meet. Shall we meet in my office or we meet in another office 500 meters down the road? And that's where you lose minutes, and I'll tell a little bit later why it's important. So it can be a room, it can also be a video conferencing platform, but then which one? Zoom, Teams, WhatsApp calling, Can it be a messaging platform? Yes, there is a messaging platform as well used, but then which one? Because while you agree on a single communication platform, it takes time. So it's best pre-agreed. Fourth thing, resources. as a rule of thumb, every crisis requires resources, be it financial, material, time resources, human resources. So set these aside. Ideally, if you have set them aside early on. If not, then make sure you have resources, earmarked for your particular crisis. And the fifth thing I love, that's the long-term thing, the end game. So that's recovery plan or business continuity plan. So where do you want to go in long term? I have two good, or not two, 3, 4, 5, many good examples where organizations that I've had a privilege to be dealing with, where they really use the crisis to actually to make a step change, to go to the next level. For example, one of our laboratories who actually faced the COVID pandemic, so they had to step up testing by 80% basically overnight. So what was their response? They said, okay, we had long wanted to invest into technology. So instead of recruiting multiple doctors, laboratory doctors who do manual work, look into the microscope, what they did, they said, they said, we go into technology, we buy the latest, and we use artificial intelligence to do most of the routine, boring work for us, and then we involve the doctors, the high-ranking experts, only in very complicated cases. So they used their crisis as a springboard to go into the next level for their business. So they are totally different organization. Another organization that we had just completed the crisis planning for in Uolaina. So they are using their new philosophy, new approach, actually to shift their focus from Eastern markets into the Western markets. So because they had this idea, and when the markets changed now, because of the invasion in Ukraine, they said, okay, we shift our business entirely. So that's the fifth thing, so the end game. Another concept that I want to share and that I am a big fan of and had an opportunity to test and try multiple times is the act early concept. The act early concept actually is quite a paradox. And this is typical of every single crisis. As crisis unfolds, you have very little information available about, what happened, why it happened, what are the people directly affected, how it's going to go. So that's the darker triangle, the information, the tip of the triangle. So there's very little information available in the very beginning. And as time elapses, and as, there's more information becoming available. But the paradox is, there are fewer effective things that you can do as time passes by. What do you think? Why is that? Any ideas? Why do you have fewer options as the crisis passes, as the time passes? Yeah, the damage has been done. You cannot undo it. That's it. You cannot turn the time back. But the thing is, different people and organizations, they see how you respond to crisis. You cannot undo the crisis, but a lot is dependent on how you react to it. If you don't act and you don't make decisions, there are other people, other organizations coming into the play. So they will become, so to say, focus of attention. They will be those that are seen as acting or reacting. There are authorities, there are investigation bodies, there are your competitors, there is the government, there is your customers. They will all act. And if you fail to act, so you lose momentum. So that's the paradox. You have more information, but there is less sense, less use for it. So the act early thing. So, and to conclude, I would like to dwell a little bit on how you can use this experience built in these various industries, and it's built over the decades, as I mentioned. What we all can do, we can start with baby steps, We can take these 5 points, we can take this act early concept and start dealing with small changes. And when there is something big coming, so the big challenge, you will be ready. So you can get prepared, you can do drills or training, and for example, if your university has a crisis team, you can actually volunteer to take part in it. So, and then you will be ready for a dramatic or catastrophic change. Well, in the very end, back to my carpenter story or the furniture story. So, luckily, I have found a type of craftsmanship in what I do when responding to crisis and being part of the top leadership teams in these organizations. So I have found I can use attention to detail. I can use discipline, do planning. I can still continuously improve my performance. And that is what this crisis preparedness helps to develop. And even if I find myself that not always I like change, I can still enjoy the results that the change brings. So, and it all helps to create a better or a more, let's say, even more resilient version of myself. And yes, it brings the enjoyment for the change that we have achieved. And to conclude this, I would like to ask you a question. Are you yourself ready for a change? Are you? So then we can give yourself a round of applause. And I have saved time in this presentation. So I actually promised I will not be making pictures, but because we have ample time left, so we can, we can all make a change now. We can maybe stand up for a while, can we? Yeah? Okay. We still have time. Stand up, move a little bit, yeah? And maybe then, what can we do? We can probably warm up the place for the next speaker, Talis. Maybe we can give him, wonders, big applause, can we? And I'll make a selfie. Hey. Thank you.